everyone. Welcome to this lunchtime Pecha Kucha session on London's air pollution ideas for a healthier and greener city. My name's Catherine Stanyland. I'm Director of New London Architecture and delighted to be partnering with ecobuild on this event today. For those of you who don't know the NLA, we're London's independent centre for information, debate, and I've said information already, and discussion about London's built environment. And our new sustainability programme, which is hosted by Lee, brings together experts, professionals, and the public to discuss the key ideas that we can put together to shape London as a greener city for the future. Today, we've got 4 speakers who are here to present their ideas for how we can develop new ideas for solving London's air pollution issues. As we know, London has some of the worst air pollution issues across the UK, and reports suggest that some 7.9 million Londoners live in areas where the air pollution levels are more than 50% the levels that they should be. So this is putting the health of Londoners at real risk. So today our 4 speakers are going to present their solutions. It's going to be a really quick fire session. So they're all going to be presenting in the Pecha Kucha format, which for those of you who don't know, means that they each have 20 slides and 20 seconds per slide to present. So that's going to keep it really short and sharp. We're not going to have time for questions at the end, but there will be time afterwards for you to come and speak to the speakers once they've finished presenting. So to kick us off with our very first presentation, we have Glen Higgs, who's Associate Director at WSP. Please welcome him up to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I work for WSP. We're a multidisciplinary consultancy, but I'm a transport planner. So what I'm going to talk about is how transport contributes to air quality problems and some of the new and innovative ways that we are looking at and the industry is looking at to tackle some of these issues in London. So transport makes up around 50% of pollution, and in tackling the issue, we need to think about this in terms of reducing the sources of pollution and also reducing people's exposure. Now, the Mayor is making a step change, not least with the launch of the ultra-low emission zone next year, but do his plans go far enough? In thinking about exposure, we need to consider which people are most affected, particularly the elderly, children, and those on lower incomes, because social inequality is often overlooked consequence of pollution. And we also need to be aware of where population growth in the capital will increase exposure. The thing is, you can't really see pollution, and as such, drivers are often unaware of how they themselves are causing damage. But what's really started to make a difference is anti-idling campaigns run by boroughs with the help of volunteers. And this is an example of how behavioural change, not just physical measures, can be used to tackle pollution. Sticking on the theme of awareness raising, car-free days are really important. We don't do enough of them. Other cities do, including Paris. These can be tied into cultural events and festivals or annual events such as the National Clean Air Day. Now, WSP is working with the Mayor here on his air quality audit programme for 50 primary schools. And this has been effective in identifying hard-hitting measures on streets as well as in school grounds and buildings. Now, the same approach could be used for new development and perhaps can be built in the development planning process. Around 1/5 of nitrogen oxide in central London comes from taxis. So they're a key source of pollution. But from the start of this year, all newly licensed cabs must be zero emission capable. But their uptake is heavily dependent on the provision of the right type of charging points in places where they are needed most. And to serve this demand, rapid charging points are being installed around London, which can charge a vehicle in around 30 minutes. Now, we're also starting to see ultra-rapid chargers, which can charge in just a few minutes. Is this the longer-term future for the wider uptake of electric vehicles in a petrol station kind of model? And in the shorter term, for those of us that don't have access to off-street parking, we're starting to see charging points retrofitted into lamp columns. Now, this is a low-cost and therefore scalable solution to charging that won't lead to lots of redundant kit clogging up our footways as technology changes. But whilst electric vehicles don't emit exhaust fumes, they do produce particulate matter from brake and tyre dust. And actually, there are more deaths a year from PMs than from the other main source of pollution, which is nitrogen dioxide. So in addition to cleaner cars, it's important that we also have fewer cars on the road. And this is one of the main focuses of the Mayor's new transport strategy. His aim is for over 80% of trips to be made by walking, cycling and public transport by 2041. Now, to some, this may seem overambitious, but analysis shows that 3/4 of car journeys can be made by these more sustainable modes. In the drive to improve air quality, we shouldn't miss the opportunity to make improvements to walking, cycling, public realm and road safety at the same time. And one of the more holistic area-wide approaches to improving air quality, the WSP is involved in, are low-emission neighbourhoods. Now, these are really good because they also provide a test bed for innovation. And one such innovation is the design of streets so they can be used by ultra-low-emission vehicles only. These are being introduced in several areas which are really busy with pedestrians and cyclists where exposure is high. It's a format that will get replicated around the capital and is a forerunner to zero-emission zones. Now, another way to restrict access to polluting vehicles is by creating school streets. These are quickly gaining popularity and prevent drop-off activity around schools. They're one of the most effective measures being proposed in our school air quality audit programme for the Mayor, and they should also be considered for new schools. Now, sticking with the schools theme, another of the measures that schools have been particularly keen on are green screens. Recent evidence has shown that they can block out fumes by around 25%, especially those with a high leaf density such as ivy. And they can also help with privacy, biodiversity and noise. Now, with the foundations being laid through the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street and improvements planned to other streets and spaces, there's the potential for creating a pedestrian network across central London. Now, this could create traffic-free routes which connect tube stations, parks, tourist attractions, where demand for walking and cycling is high. Another way to encourage more walking and to reduce dominance of cars is to change the legal priority that pedestrians have over other vehicles in certain areas. Now, on the continent, these are called encounter zones, and this is one of the key recommendations to government in the recent Chartered Institute of Highways and Transportation review on shared space. With our growing population, it is important to take advantage of the changing attitudes to car ownership, especially among young people who are increasingly moving to car club membership and ride sharing. And for new development, these mobility options are becoming a necessity with the introduction of more car-free planning policy restrictions. Vans and lorries account for 30% of traffic in central London, so they're a major source of pollution. But the switch to electric vehicles for them will take a lot longer, as there are very few models on the market compared to cars. However, the City of London is now trialling one of the first all-electric trucks for refuse collection, so progress is being made in this area. But one of the more sustainable freight measures that's got more potential in the short term is micro-consolidation centres. New Cargo is one of the first companies to set up, and they will make deliveries during the day out of consolidation hubs. We've recently finished some research for TfL which has shown that cycle freight here is growing in popularity, mainly because of the increase in congestion over the last couple of years. And with more restrictions on traffic access and parking to come, it has the potential to replace a lot of van trips as the time savings become greater and because bikes can basically park where they want. So, in summary, in addition to the more transformational projects that the Mayor is introducing across London, there are many other transport-related initiatives that can be introduced at the local level, which, when scaled up in numbers, can make a huge contribution to improving air quality in the capital. Thank you.